Sure. So yeah, my name is Matt DiFerdinando. I am a staff attorney at Highest Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, focusing on deportation defense. I am partially funded by the Vera Institute, so I would like to thank Allison specifically for that. That's a fun little coincidence. Um, as far as how I got here, yeah, so I, like a lot of sociology majors, came into college not knowing what I wanted to do, but having a vague understanding that I wanted to do some kind of work that could be in the public interest, very broadly speaking. While I was at Loyola, I tried to take advantage of, as many different opportunities as I could. And 4 years later, came out of it still not really knowing what I wanted to do. So I did a year with the Jesuit Volunteer Corps after college in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where I worked to help coordinate a restorative justice diversionary program for youth in the justice system there. And I really liked it. It was a great experience. The whole JVC experience in general was certainly worth doing, um, both because of the job I had and also just it bought me some time to figure out where I wanted to go. And by, halfway through that year, I knew that, or had a pretty good idea that I wanted to go to law school, and just because the few different pathways I was considering that would open those doors. And I think sort of a common theme, and as I think of how the last 10 years have gone, is just trying to keep as many doors open as I can. And that was the best way for me to do that, at least I thought at the time. Um, so I went to Boston College Law School. And for me going into law school, I wanted to focus on housing. It was one of the issues that affected a lot of the folks I worked with in Bridgeport, was just housing instability. Um, Housing law is something that really it's easy to wrap your brain around, compared to a lot of other parts of the legal world. And uh, I spent a year trying that out, different internships, things like that. And it's not that it wasn't for me, it just didn't grab me the way I hoped it would. And I started law school in fall 2015. So the start of my second year was the 2016 election. Right after that, all of the immigration policy changes, and for me, it was as good of an opportunity as any to find a way to make a difference there. So I pivoted. I took as many immigration related classes as I could, as many externships as I could, things like that. And knew at that point that I wanted to go into the immigration field, specifically working with detained folks. So um, coming out of law school, I was in Boston. I wanted to come back to, I'm from Philadelphia originally, wanted to come back to the area. Took a clerkship, which I wouldn't recommend, at least personally, but I think it's good for a lot of people. It was bad for me, but it bought a couple of years for me to figure out what was next. And for now almost the last 4 years, I have been at Highest Pennsylvania, where I represent folks who are detained during their deportation proceedings and in all of the appeals that come out of that. Primarily folks who are in Pennsylvania, but a little bit of all over the East Coast as well. So yeah, again, I think for me the biggest takeaway as I was thinking about what to say here is just that being open to, at least for me, being open to where my skills and my interests, as I discovered what those even were, met various needs in the world or my smaller local community, or even just a job opening, was the best way of navigating getting to this point. And I'm pretty happy with where I've ended up at this point, but also, the sort of your career is always a forever evolving thing. And so I try to keep that open mind, and hope to do so as we move forward. So yeah, I think that's all I got.
The rest of you three to also speak to that question about finding that balance between, because I'm sure that, deportation cases are tough, and so forth. So if Matt, if you would speak, and then our other two would also respond.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like burnout's a real thing in any of these fields. And um, I think even in the 10 years since I graduated, like I think there's more awareness just within the fields themselves that is a problem, and it's a realistic barrier to longevity in these fields. So I think you're coming into whether it's social work or any of our fields at as good a time as any to um, both on your own and within your communities, professional communities, to set yourself up for success there. Yeah, I mean, on a personal level, it's hard. I try to take advantage of supervision, at least as part of that. And I think building a um, good relationship with your supervisor to both to laugh about it when you need to laugh about it, and also just to like have someone who is it's their job to like talk to you about these things. So take advantage of those opportunities when they present themselves, and making sure when you're looking for a job that whatever agency you're looking at will set you up for that. There are some jobs in any of our fields that will set you up to fail, and knowing, doing your homework in advance on where you're looking to get a job to help avoid something like that is really important, because once you burn out, it is a lot harder to come back from that. And even, switching jobs to another agency that's better prepared for that, if you've already burned out, it can be hard to get back going. And yeah, I think in terms of like not taking it home, I work from home, and so that is sort of an extra layer for that. And that's like, some of you will end up working from home probably. That's the reality of the world these days. So I literally have a room where I keep my books and my laptop and my desk, and I don't bring any, like I physically don't bring things outside of the room. And so sometimes it's, finding boundaries that work for you. Um, Silly as that they may seem, like it's partially, I think, just a matter of exploring what works best for you once you're in the field.
Hi, this is a question for Matt. I'm also from Boston and I'm also considering law school, specifically looking at immigration. I just kind of wanted to ask, what were the things or like the qualities you were looking for when looking at law schools, especially within Boston? And what did your prep look like? Like what was your strategies, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And yeah, so speaking, I guess, about the Boston part specifically, part of the reality of doing public interest law too is it's about finding both the best school for you, but also if there's a good like financial fit, that's a real thing. BC had good options as far as public interest loan forgiveness and public interest scholarships, more so at the time than BU, certainly Harvard, and Northeastern. All of them offer good programming. I think so. The way I approached it realistically is I went to the place that offered me the most money, which is, you know, I feel good about the decision in the end, if I'm being honest. I think my takeaway from law school, um, or one of my takeaways from law school is that, like any grad program, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And I think that even if, I'm not sure how much you've looked into it, but looking at a school like NYU, which is like the standard for public interest law, you'll have any opportunity you want at a place like that. BC very much is not that. BC is a business law school first. And I knew that going into it, but um, any law school is going to have, whether it's clinical work, whether it's different interest groups, you'll have opportunities to do that. Certainly in advance, I set up phone calls with like clinical professors in particular at BC. At the time, it was for the housing clinic because that's what I thought I was interested in. I reached out to those professors at different law schools just to have a chat. I think, and this isn't just like a legal specific or a law specific thing. People are always happy to talk about what they do, especially for people who are just getting into the field. And I think especially when you're looking for a graduate program, people understand that's a big decision that's going to impact, the next few years of your life, right? I never had anyone say no to setting up a meeting. And one of the things that made me comfortable about going to BC, in addition to like, I felt that's where I was best set up financially, given the realities of public interest law, was that I had had those conversations in advance with a few professors to make me feel like, okay, even if this is what I'm reading about the school, online, sort of your big picture reviews, I think if I go here, I'll be able to find some things that have me feeling good about it. So yeah, I hope that answers the question, and certainly Dr. Conradi can pass along my contact.
Cool. Matt, you want to go ahead so we give Allison the rest?
Yeah, I think for me, so in representing detained folks specifically in removal proceedings, you're winning like 10% of your cases if you're lucky. And so my biggest challenge a lot of the times is just redefining success. I think we sort of alluded to this in another context earlier, but like if you look at that objectively, that sucks, right? So I think for me to like keep doing this, it's focusing on, you know, how did over the course of my time representing this individual, even if I didn't win this case, like what can we take out of this? What can they take out of it? A lot of the times for my clients, it's just I made sure that they got their day in court that they otherwise wouldn't have. But regardless of whether it's that or something else, I think, the challenge of my particular position is just finding ways to to stay positive through sort of working very much in an uphill battle against that system. Relatedly, and talking about burnout earlier, I'm probably a year or two away from looking for a next step, probably in a role that is not quite as on the ground all the time. I hope to keep representing people, but finding a role that allows me to do maybe more of a mix of casework and policy work, or casework and supervisory work. And again, that's just to keep things sustainable in the long run.